I'm now here with two guys from Besworn Games, with Daniele Martinez and Martin Langer. They are currently developing the game The Orphan, a pop-up book adventure. And they're now here with me. Hi, you guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to have you here. First question, could you describe a scene from your current game, The Orphan?
Okay, our actual game has only one level yet, but we have, of course, storyboards for every book page, aka levels. You know pop-up books, right? Imagine you open a page of a book and then the whole level unfolds. Our biggest level to be is the level of the orphanage. When this level unfolds, a dark building opens with 3 floors. In each level, you have something we called the story main element. When this gets opened, the real magic of the pop-up book elements begin. The pictured elements of the flat paper start to grow out of the flat paper until they're relief-like. Pictured figures may come to life and start to move around. In the orphanage level, we have the supervisors that come alive, and the player needs to navigate and escapes from them. And because the ground level is still out of paper, the character has to use scissors and glues to create ways through the level.
Well, there's this room, and then there's a book, and when you open it up, then you play inside the book, right?
Yes, exactly. It's like in the which movie was it? The second movie of Harry Potter, where they get sucked into the book. You open the pop-up book, you start interacting with it, and everything turns, a white light comes out of the book, you are getting sucked into the book, and then the pop-up book is your game world. Not the attic where the pop-up book was laying, where you started moving around in the beginning, but the pop-up book itself is the game world. Yeah, and all levels are built in a similar way. Of course, from the folding mechanics, they are completely different in each level. So we have a really nice variety of levels. But all have the same part with the main story element. When you unfold it, everything grows out, everything becomes alive. The music changes from the attic, silence attic, to in the canalization. Then we have rats squeaking around, water dropping and flowing, which you are then also able to hear.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Sounds really interesting. Second question. So you already before Gamescom, you put out a demo on Steam. What player feedback did you get so far?
Yeah, we have our demo out on Steam since the last Gamescom, not this one.
Okay.
Yeah, and you are actually playing an early version of the 3rd level. The general feedback is positive because everyone loves the concept and the idea of the pop-up books. And we had a few streamers playing it where we also were then able to talk during the stream with them. And they had really positive feedback, especially not just because of the childhood memories of pop-up books, but also, as I mentioned, mostly because of the idea and the concept, because something like that did not really happen often and not in the way how we are doing it. There are like 2 pop-up games out, but they're not really pop-up book games, only games with pop-up elements. And and everybody loves our rats during playing the game demo. They're like, oh my god, they're so cute, they're so cute. They are kind of dangerous and try to kill you, but everybody thinks, oh my god, they're so cute.
I think I would be that person as well.
Then you should come during the Gamescom to our stand, because we will have some stickers of the rats.
Ooh, I'll be there right now. Did you also get some player feedback where you were saying, okay, that's something we still got to work on?
Yeah, we have. It's not bug-free, of course. It was a prototype which we converted in 1 month to a demo.
Okay.
During the whole week of the Gamescom, I think we had like 5 new versions. Also each day a new version released with the new bugs that gamers found.
Yeah, we learned a lot the last year, and right now we are working on fixing most bugs. Almost every that you cannot break the game, and making it better. So I have like hundreds of little tweaks I want to do, but we will see how much time I have and how many I can finish.
The demo for this year, it will be mainly, of course, the same because it's the same level. But we make some adjustments in the cutscenes, we make some adjustments in bug fixing, and then also we found out, okay, a few mechanics they're not really needed to play the game. They were like really nice to have, but they are making the game out of scope, basically. Because we don't need them, you can do that, but it was like, okay, yeah, in a game, in a sort of small action adventure, usually you are able to jump. But when you never use the jumping or need to jump, you don't really need it.
Yeah, okay. So that's something you cut out.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Third question. What's great about being an indie dev and what's rather difficult?
The good things is you can work on your own time. So you have to make a plan and work on a steady pace, but you have the freedom to do the stuff you want to do.
This freedom is great. As Marty mentioned, doing the sitting down and saying, okay, now I'm working. That's the hard part. One of the hard parts.
And what's rather difficult then?
Paperwork, a lot of paperwork.
Yes.
You have to establish a company. Then something like taxes are coming, which you never had to think about in your life before. There is a lot of paperwork to go through to figure out how to do that, because no one teaches you in university. When we both studied video games studies, but no one teaches you how to do paperwork or how to do how to manage a company, basically.
Yeah, that's something I don't get, even in schools, I think. The teachers don't teach you how to make financial plans or, how to watch how much money you have.
Yeah, how to use it, how to make a plan. Okay, we estimations in a span for 18 months, we need this amount of money because we have to pay that, this, the artist, something for someone from music. Then okay, yeah, shit, we also need QA. Which you don't think about, but because that comes at the end, like the last few months only. But you also have to calculate it in. Yeah, in a school or university, no one teaches you how to do a financial plan. No one teaches you how to manage a company, how to establish a company, because because they just don't do that, which is really sad. And a lot of indie developers probably have then these struggles at the beginning, and then ask a lot of questions to Google or to friends they might have, which are already maybe have done this step.
So, final question, you two. What moment in your life as an indie developer will you always remember?
Yes, for me, so we have a spider in the game. And the movement of the spider is the legs work with physics and stuff. It's not just animation, and I worked a really long time that works correctly. So literally, I had like weekends where I just was screaming at my screen, and then it works correctly, and it's wonderful. And one streamer for the DevCom, I think it was, saw that and got scared for 2 seconds. Like that's that I saw that, and it was.
So you made a good job there.
Yeah, and I'm even right now I'm making it more stable.
Yeah, even rework the spider because it looks great, but it can always look better.
Yeah, but the thing is, it already did problems again, and like I was working half a day to find out why my spider is dabbing all the time.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we also had a spider doing a squid once. When a spider which has like his long arms or legs, his long legs, which are actually quite steady and like our legs basically, because there's a straight line, then you have the leg, a straight part, then you have a joint, another straight part, you have a multiple because the legs of a spider are really long. And at one point, it just started to make a movement like a squid. And when we were like, okay, shouldn't this be like more straight and not like that movie?
Yeah, but technically now we can easily do a squid.
We just have to reverse the correct code to the broken one. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I think for me, the part I will always remember is like the first interview I had, not as an interview, not as a person who gets interviewed, but the person who has to interview someone that you want to get as employee. That's like a part. So okay, now I have to ask the question, and now I have to make sure that I sound professional and that I make a serious not face, but a serious. That seems serious, our business, basically.
Like a poker face.
Yeah, like a poker face. I think that was like is a part that I will always remember. And at the beginning, we did not have an office, so we met in a coffee at a coffee
right.
place.
Okay. Yeah. So did Martin apply or?
No, we founded a company together.
Okay.
Martin was here from the beginning.
Okay, great. Really, really cool, you two. Thanks so much for the insights in the interview, and I can't really wait what else you will do with the orphan, how the game looks like in the end, and yeah, see you at Gamescom.
Thank you. Let us know how the demo was after you played it.
I'll do that, definitely.
Okay.
I give you feedback.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then see you at the Gamescom.
In this special Gamescom episode, we look at the studio which is located exactly in the city where Gamescom is taking place. That is Cologne in Germany. The name of the studio is Mellow Games, and the founder is Melanie Taylor, who is now here with me. Hi, Mel.
Hi.
You are currently developing a very emotional game, a story platformer called Blueberry. Question 1, describe a scene for us from your game.
First of all, I'd like to say Blueberry is a mix between platforming and minigames, and the minigames are sort of the focus. So it's actually quite fitting that you asked to describe the scene, because it's mostly made out of these story-focused minigames, which are scenes from her memory. And I guess one good example is that as a child, you sort of try to get cookies in the kitchen, and you climb up the kitchen shelves to get those cookies, and put pots and pans on top of each other in order to get at them. And these mini games are sort of focused very much on these little scenes, which can be very broad things in her life, since the game is divided into 4 life phases. So it's child, teen, adult, and elderly lady. And as the child phase sort of progresses, it's kind of focused on like more physical mini games. And as you're a teenager, it starts to focus more on dialogue, and then it goes more in that direction. Yeah, I hope this was a good description. It's very different in each life phase, is what I'm trying to say.
What inspired you to make such an emotional game, and also about topic mental health?
It's mostly personal experiences, and sort of, I guess the biggest focus is sort of that since I'm 37 years old now, the topic of having children was more and more in focus in my life. And I was thinking about, well, am I even fit to be a mom? And I think that a lot of people who are like in their 30s might go through these thoughts and maybe wonder, will I make the same mistakes as my parents? And especially if you have family members with mental health problems or have them yourself, these decisions are super difficult, because it's proven that these things are often hereditary and passed on to children. So I think that was sort of the starting point I had, and the reason why I wanted to focus on this topic of being a mom, and also on mental health, and also changing of perspectives. Like at the beginning, she is a child herself, and then later she has her own child. And you also replay scenes that are quite similar to when you were a kid, only now you're the mom. So I thought that was quite interesting, this core idea of changing perspectives and as you age, with a focus on mental health.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question 3. What's great about being an indie developer, and what's rather difficult for you?
Well, I have to say I generally love being an indie developer. It's like my heart and soul is tied to it. But it's also very anxiety-inducing sometimes. Like you never have financial stability. And even if you have a successful game, which I'm very lucky that I had with Orwell a few years ago, it's still very tough to be sustainable as a studio. And my studio is tiny. Right now, it's just me. I was working with freelancers on Blueberry in the past, and it's like manageable, but it's also a lot of responsibility. Like you want to pay the people that you work with well, and you want to be a good leader, but you also need to, finish the game. And it's really, really tough to make these decisions, especially with budgeting and financing the game. So yeah, that's the sort of downside. But the great thing is, of course, creative freedom, which is wonderful. And it's also just great to make games. The kinds of games that you want to see out there. That's something I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm. And Orwell, that was a game where you co-worked with a team?
Yeah, so I co-founded Osmotic Studios in Hamburg. That was in 2014. And then we released Orwell in 2016. That was together with two friends from uni. And then we released a follow-up, a season 2 for Orwell in 2018. And that was when I left the studio and started Mellow Games afterwards.
All right. Okay. Question 4. What moment in your life as an indie dev will you always remember?
I think I have a fun story about this because so when we were releasing Orwell, this was like the first studio I founded was Osmotic Studios after studying. And of course, we were quite inexperienced. We didn't know whether anyone would play our game. And at least I thought that not many people would. But we released the game in episodes. So 5 episodes it was in total, and 1 episodes per week. And the last episode was super late, so it was really tough, and we had to work until like 3 a.m. And there were actually people in the Steam forums who were sort of waiting for the last episode to come out. And because it was a story-focused game, they wanted to know how the game ends, and were super curious and super happy. And they were just so nice. And we're really we got emails saying, take your time, it's okay. We want the game to be the best it can be. And there was one guy who was on a ship for some reason, for work reasons, I think. And he said, I hope that the game comes out before my ship leaves, because I won't have internet. And then people were just talking to each other and were sort of waiting together in the Steam forums for the game to come out. And that was an extraordinary experience. It's just the best thing about it, I would say, is really hearing player feedback and seeing that people enjoy your game and are really interested in how it turns out. So that's lovely.
Yeah, sure. Awesome story, Mel. Thanks so much for this, and see you at Gamescom.
Yeah, see you then. Thank you.
Gamescom is back and happening now in Cologne in Germany. And as always, tons of new games are getting announced, especially indie games, I would say. One of them is called Saga of Sins. It's a 2D action adventure, which is being developed by the German indie dev studio Bonus Level Entertainment. One of the founders is Rupert Ochsner, and he's now here on Open Indie. Hello, Rupert.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
Hi. First question, describe a scene for us from your current game, Saga of Sins.
You, Cecile the Cleric. You wake up in your private little chamber of the chapel of Sinwell. And you ask yourself, after you just had another terrible nightmare, is this righteous what we are doing here? Why is my superior master Ulrich forcing me to enter people's minds in the form of a hideous creature to fight the 7 deadly sins? Can we really stop the plague from spreading this way? Do I sacrifice my soul, or am I just losing my mind?
So you are forced to do something.
Yes. So as you can see, I picked a story sequence to describe my game. And it's this inner conflict the avatar, this is Cecile the Cleric has. Mm-hmm. Because, what you can see from the trailer that we just revealed is that, we are a 2D action adventure. We have a cool arcade gameplay that is very rewarding. We have this unique stained glass art style. But what you don't see in the trailer is that we also have and put a lot of time and passion into the story of the game. So it's a very thrilling mystery story. And this is what I wanted to communicate to the people by picking this inner conflict scene, this inner monologue Cecile has when he wakes up in his chamber.
Second question, you also mentioned it. Your art style is very special. Like the whole world you play in is made up of stained glass. Why did you design the game that way?
That's a good question. And so often in life, it was like step by step that led to this stained glass art style. First of all, the main source of inspiration for this game is the Dutch painter Hieronymus Bosch, who was born 1450. And since I'm a kid, he's my favorite painter because of his crazy and creative paintings. Yeah, when I was designing this game, I asked myself what game would fit into the world of Hieronymus Bosch. And then the second question was, what art style are we going to choose? So when it comes to the art style, for us, doing it in an oil painting glass style was never an option because this wouldn't fit to the arcade style gameplay of the game. And then we thought maybe we do it in pixel art because our first game, Fox and Forests, was a quite nice pixel art game. But then quite early on, I had the idea of doing it in stained glass because it's unique, because it really fits perfectly to the setting of the game, and because you can do really, really cool stuff when it comes to lighting effects or when it comes to the game itself. So, for example, the end bosses, you have to shoot them into pieces, glass fragment per glass fragment. Or the regular enemies, when you shoot them, then they get cracks and they get more cracks and then they shatter into pieces. So we think that the stained glass offers a lot of surprising gameplay varieties to the gamer.
That sounds cool. Third question, what's great about being an indie dev and what's rather difficult for you?
So the really great thing about making indie games is that the teams are quite small. So sometimes it's really more like working not with colleagues, but within a family. And what I like about this is that everybody knows what the other people are doing. So it's also possible for everyone to contribute to the game, to have ideas, and then you will see your own ideas and your own work reflecting in the game. So that's what I really, really like. And I have to say, I'm very, very proud and thankful for the team at Bonus Level Entertainment who did such a great job on Saga of Sins.
What's difficult about being an indie dev?
Well, the difficult thing is that I think the budgets are really still way too low because always once in a while there is the story of this one or two guys that develop a game and then they get rich. But, if you want to get rich, you really shouldn't work in the games industry. And then this kind of distorts the whole budget situation, right? I mean, we at Bonus Level, we have families to support, for us, these are regular jobs and we need the money, and it's a very, very hard and difficult work. So it's important that the team is not too small and that you get a fair payment for it. So the budgets really have to get better, and I hope that with Saga of Sins we can finally prove to the world that we are capable of doing fun games, and that good work has to cost good money.
Fourth question, what moment in your life as an indie dev will you always remember?
To be honest, thankfully, there were already quite some moments I remember dearly. One was, of course, the Fox and Forest Kickstarter campaign that was successful. Then another very, very great moment was when we got funding from the FFF Bavaria and from the BMWK of the German government for Saga of Sins. But still, I would say my favorite moment is that when our first game, Fox and Forest, launched, PlayStation Universe gave us a 9 out of 10 rating, and they said that we are one of the, for them, we are one of the best games, indie games of the PlayStation 4 area. So this made us very happy. I mean, I know life shouldn't be about numbers, right? But I do have to say this really kept me going because making indie games is also very demanding sometimes. And so, it really motivated me to, try again with a new game to get ratings like this.
Sure, awesome. Well, I wish you all the best for Saga of Sins, and we'll see you at Gamescom.
Yeah, thank you so much. See you at Gamescom. And once again, the game is playable for everyone at the Indie Arena booth, and we would be very happy to welcome people and try out Saga of Sins on their own for the first time.
Hello, I'm Andreas Bødker from Octato. I'm the director of Airhead.
Andreas, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So Airhead is this 2D puzzle adventure. You play as Airhead. He needs to find air tanks to keep his head inflated so he can continue his journey. We have prepared 3 questions for you for this Gamescom special this year. Ready?
Yeah.
So first question, how did you come up with this?
I had that old idea where I had this head that was running out of air. So it actually fit the idea that I wanted to use in the game, that I wanted to make a game about. That whole sort of thing in life where you get in those situations where you don't really grasp the whole situation and you have to make fast decisions, and how that ends up maybe changing the world, or turned out that it wasn't the right thing you did, or something like that. So that was actually where we just started to use that head in a bigger game than the original very small Flash game I made.
Second question, with what did you struggle the most during the development of Airhead?
Yeah, we had when we started making it, and that whole idea about this efficiency in solving the puzzles where you have like that time lock with the head. It turned out to be a very big frustration for people when they are solving puzzles. So the whole balancing thing with the puzzle has definitely been the hardest part, because it was kind of we knew it would be risky, and also the whole Metroidvania-ish open world thing with the thing also made the whole balancing a lot harder, because it's harder for the people who are playing it to know exactly what their goal is and everything. So that whole fun frustration balance has been the hardest to meet all the way through the game.
And final question, what part of the game are you really proud of?
Really proud of, I think, the whole ending and the whole, like, sort of when you suddenly realize that there's more to the game than just this crazy idea about a character with a head, but the whole environment is involved, and all the creatures you have met ends up in a final resolution in the game, and especially if you explore even more and get deeper into the story. I think I'm really proud of how we got that whole thing put together, and that it actually meets my original ideas and what I wanted to do with the game. I'm very proud that we succeeded in that, I feel.
Okay, so is there also a twist at the end?
Of course.
Okay.
And then maybe you wouldn't even notice it, because it's part of the whole puzzle thing. Also solving the story is also, so it's going to be between the lines, some of the things, but the twist should be obvious.
Okay, I see. Curious to find out. Thanks, Andreas, so much, and have fun at Gamescom.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julien and Gatumel. I'm the lead writer of SandBloom Studio. And yeah, our team started 5 years ago now, I think. We started very little, looking for help to fund our games, and we started doing games. We did, after a lot of years of basically training ourselves after the studies, we made a game to kind of get out there, to have a self-published game so we could be out there, called Lost in Memories. And after that, after going to Gamescom and other times, we were able to meet with Handy Games, and we basically, after some time, started talking, and they were interested with the exits, and finally we got here because they agreed to sign us, and
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the exit, DE-exit, Eternal Matters, a cinematic voxel adventure in which you die at first, but you wake up again in a surreal world which is starting to collapse, and you need to save it by being stealthy, solving puzzles, and trying to be a hero. So for our Gamescom special episodes this year, we prepared 3 questions for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So first question, in your press release it says that you want to create fun games, of course. But the exit also has a message. Which one is it?
So the idea with the game, at the end of the game it's a game about death and life. We not only want to tell a story that is quite an epic story about saving a world. You, as a character, die in the beginning and appear in this place that was supposed to be heaven. But you realize that there's kind of an apocalyptic event going on. So you will need to save the world. So that's the main story, the main thing that players will see, but there's a backstory, a back message about it. On one side, about simply death. You will find a lot of characters along the way that have died and that share their view and their how they died to come here. So there's a lot of very intimate stories about their death and how it and how it all went. There's also a little bit of a reflection about illness and recuperation, and how illness can destroy a person or a world, but that's kind of a more subtle message that players will need to find.
So second question, with what did you struggle the most during the development of the
Struggle the most? Good question. What do you think, que nos costó más? What was more difficult for us when developing?
The vision meetings for chapter.
Yeah, because when this game is last 5 chapters, and so when we start a chapter, for example, the prologue that you can see in the demo, this is basically this mountain range with ruins. So we do a meeting and see, okay, how it's gonna look, how it's gonna be. So Gabriel has the main vision of the game, he's being the creative director, but then we see, okay, this will not work because we just had a night level before, or this will not work because we want to convey happiness in this chapter. So or this mechanic, we tried it, our lead programmer tried implementing it, and it really doesn't work, and it's really not easy to implement. So we kind of, okay, this does not work, what do? We panic now. Thankfully, we have week-long meetings about this, so we can iterate and say, okay, this will not work, this will work. And I think I like these meetings as well. They are stressing, but as well we started learning how to do them well, to divide the team. So I'm lead writer, so I go on my side, I start to think about the narrative side. Same thing with the lead artist, and then we come back and we put it all together.
Okay, cool. And final question, what part of the game are you really proud of?
What part of the game? I mean, it would be cheesy to say everything, but to be able, and that is, I think, something that as a company when we started we didn't realize, and for we have seen a lot of developers that were recently starting now and asking for tips, and it's like, to have something finished on this level of polish and all that is what I'm most proud of, to really have a product that is completely finished, that is amazing. And I think the word polished as well, to not only have something finished and that's it, but something that we took care, polishing little details. Gabriel introduced a lot of main cinematics, but also a lot of secret cinematics you only get if you explore a little bit to the left or a little, and yeah, I'm very proud of all this.
Okay, cool. Well, great, well thanks so much, and good luck with the game, and have fun at Gamescom.
Have fun, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Awesome.
Yes, so my name is Stjärnljus and I'm the creative director and lead game designer at Wishfully. And here with me is my co-director,
Klas Eriksson, and I'm also the scriptwriter for Planet of Lana.
That's right. And so we're making a game called Planet of Lana, and it's a side-scrolling sci-fi puzzle adventure where you play this young girl called Lana. She's 11 years old and she's forced out on this epic adventure with a mission to save her big sister that's been taken away by this invading robot army. And you do that together with this cute little creature that you come across, Mooey, and together you go out on this adventure.
I love Mooey.
Oh, thanks.
So do we.
Yeah, we really wanted to create, that's what we think is fresh, and what we're bringing fresh to the genre is really this companion-based mechanics. And we were asked quite often, like, can you play as Mooey? Can you play cooperatively? But we really didn't want that. It was a very conscious decision from the get-go, because we want to create that kind of special bond that you can have in real life with a dog.
Okay.
So the game is really about also the relationship between Lana and Mooey and how that unfolds. And then, of course, as well, the main mission of finding her sister and, realizing why the robots have come to this planet and, figuring it all out. And yeah, and we're a small studio based in Sweden, in Gothenburg. And we're around 18 people working on the game right now. And yeah, it's actually our first game that we're making, and we've been doing it for 5 years now, so a long time coming.
Yeah, awesome. And me and Adam have been working together. We've known each other since we were like 12, and we've been working together almost since like high school. So it's a long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're also coming from a background in film and animation before. And several of us in the studio has that background, and we think, sometimes it's quite nice to come in with fresh eyes. Also, you have a lot of experience from a different field, and then you come into games with that, you know, kind of sense of discovery. And yeah, it's been great. And I think all the experience that we brought has really impacted like the way we create games a lot.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. And it also like opens up a lot of possibilities as well. Like I think, you know, you come in like you're really used to a super linear format, and then like all of a sudden you have this interactive element to sort of add to the mix, and it's been so much fun. And now we're hooked. We don't want to do anything else ever again, I don't think. So yeah.
No, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so first question, you said you are on this alien planet, there are buildings and machinery which look kind of mysterious. How did you get all these ideas for this world?
I mean, it's really been a mix of different things. We're definitely inspired by Studio Ghibli, and especially Miyazaki in his films, like Spirited Away and Ponyo and Totoro in these films. But it's also a mix of, you know, games that we grew up with as kids. I grew up with games like Another World and Flashback and Oddworld and these games. And yeah, it's just a mix of inspirations. There's also like modern games, of course, like indie games like Limbo and Inside. And yeah, it's a mix of films, games, and, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
And for you?
Yeah, what was the question again? So I guess I came in, Adam painted this beautiful key art here that we've really been using since the beginning. And like, for me, it was really a matter of like seeing that, like it just evokes so many questions to me. Like, you know, it's okay, where is this place, first of all? Who is this girl? Who's this little monkey creature thing that she's with? What's this robot? What does it want? And like coming at it from a story perspective, I think that was the first jumping off point for me, like just trying to answer all these questions, and then like us discussing that together, and that really is the foundation of like, you know, where I came at it. And then like Adam said, like so many inspirations from like, you know, games and movies and stuff that we played. I'm a huge Miyazaki fan as well. Okay. On the game side for me, because I'm very sort of focused on the storytelling in the game, like because I'm the writer and obviously co-directing. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, like Final Fantasy 7. Yeah, it's like it's my whole childhood, that game. And like one of my favorite things about that game is like how like they're telling such a like deep immersive story with such little means, you know what I mean? Like it's just like these little like really blocky polygon like, you know, characters, but like you really feel for them the whole like game. And that was a huge inspiration for me. It's like, okay, like you can actually tell a really complex emotional story with pretty simple means, and that was like a really good jumping off point for me, like a reference that I can sort of relate to. Yeah.
So second question, what is or was the most difficult part in developing Planet of Lana?
I mean, there's been so many things that's been difficult on this journey, I would say. I mean, I think we're just so lucky that we were able to, because this is our first game, so it took a few years before we got funding. So we did it in our spare time. We're quite a few like founders of the studio, and we were able to do other jobs on the side and then work on this game. But it really enabled us to have like more than 2 years of pre-production where we could really try out stuff, you know, and get the puzzle design and the game mechanics just right. And also just, you know, converting this concept art that we did, and that's because we wanted this hand-painted feel, but just having time to experimenting and finding this like 2.5D look that we have now, which is kind of like a mix between 3D and 2D, but still keeping this hand-painted look. So yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of difficult things, but I think just it's also been such a journey, and we've said that to each other so many times that we've just done this. What drives us forward is just we get to work with so talented people every day, and it's just so fun seeing like everyone in the team and how they participate and adds like creatively to the product. It's just been a really nice journey. What do you think has been the most like challenging thing?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about it as he was sort of talking, and I like one of the things definitely like coming from film is that you're so much more in control in film, you know what I mean? Like it's like the difference between building an actual world in video games to like building like a set piece of a world in movies, you know? And like you can jump in time and like you can curate the world in a completely different way. In a video game, you literally have to build a whole world, like, you know? And then you have to account for the fact that someone might be stuck for like 20 minutes somewhere, and it still has to be engaging and like immersive and fun, you know? And things like music, you know, like all of a sudden you have this interactive aspect to like how you're how you're directing with music and like bringing that whole thing in, like you have to like sort of layer it and take that time aspect into account as well. Of like you can't just go like, all right, when Lana comes here, the music will come in there, and then like, you know, it'll be like right on this beat. It's like, no, you have to always keep that interactive element in mind, and like hugely challenging, but so much fun.
And final question, what part of the game are you really proud of?
I mean, yes, just speaking for myself, I think I'm so proud of so many things, and I'm so proud of the whole team, and really, and just it's just been so amazing, like having this like from the start when it was just an image and an idea, and just getting to experience this journey of like more and more people coming onto the team and how they add things to the creative process and to the game, and how it's just gotten so much better because of all these like very talented people that has and is working on the game. I think I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud of how we managed to come to where we're at now.
Yeah, for sure. Look, everything Adam said, it's like that's my answer as well, but I will say as well, because I like just bringing it up, and it's like the music, we're just so happy with our soundtrack from the very talented Takeshi Furukawa, who came on board. Like he actually got in touch with us, which was like huge. He saw this key art as well. I guess it evoked some questions in his mind too, and he sort of got in touch, and it was like a dream. Like we couldn't believe, like, you know, the composer of The Last Guardian, like, you know, jumping on board. Yeah. And then that process, and for me as well, because like music is a big part of the story as well. It actually plays into both gameplay and story. And so just to be able to work with someone like him who like sort of really got that straight away, and like, you know, starting that collaboration it's just been so awesome. But like Adam said, everyone's awesome.
I'm Gabriel Caruso. I work for Space Lizard Studio, and I'm the game developer of Paper Cut Mansion. We're a very skeleton crew because we are a team of 3 guys. It's myself who does pretty much everything from animations, 3D modeling, sketching, and sound and music. And we also have another artist who's called Tano, and the programmer who's Lorenzo, who deals with the code. So about my background, I started as a composer, audio engineer. So I made a couple of games where I was involved into like only the music part of the game and the sound effects and everything else, because my background is more on the musician side, because I was like playing in a band and stuff. So I transitioned from that into the game development. So it was more of a, you know, a composer role type of thing. And then after that, I worked on different games, mobile games and console before. Before Paper Cut Mansion, we released a game called Dragon Bros, which was like a retro pixel art game in which I did pretty much the music and the sounds, but also just a little bit of pixel art as well. And then after that, I started making paper models for Paper Cut Mansion. I started sketching around because we wanted to create a new game. And this is when I started being an actual artist as well, and an animator and everything else.
Okay, cool.
That's my background.
In your band, what instrument did you play, or did you sing?
I used to play bass and try to sing. I'm not a singer, but I was trying my best to sing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what type of music did you do?
It was a mix of genres. We did punk rock mixed with chiptunes. Chiptunes like retro arcade sounds, 8-bit. Pretty much. So it was electronic and punk rock mixed together. A weird combination, but it worked. We liked it.
So Paper Cut Mansion, your new game, is like this roguelike horror game in which you play as Toby, a police detective who needs to explore a creepy mansion. You solve puzzles, fight enemies, complete quests, and in each run you hope to get a little closer in getting behind the mystery of this bizarre place. For this Gamescom Gamescom special episode this year, we prepared 3 questions for you. You ready?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, go fire away.
So first question, this game really has a special style. So everything looks like it's made out of cardboard and reminded me a bit of Paper Mario at first. Just the characters in the game are 3D and they aren't completely flat like Mario. Why did you choose that kind of art style?
So, as I said before, basically I started sketching, right? So I started messing around with this new style. I wanted to just sketch around and see what I was capable of doing. And I remember when we started the project, it was me and Lorenzo, the programmer. So we were like in a kind of a internal game jam that we wanted to like experiment. We wanted to start thinking about ideas to make a new game. So I was in the process of moving home back then, and as I was moving from one house to the other, I found myself one day surrounded by like cardboard boxes, right, in an empty room, and I thought, we were like, oh, what should we do with our next game? What's the idea? We were brainstorming, and as I was sitting in the middle of like a lot of cardboard boxes, I thought, this is quite scary. Why don't we make like a cardboard scary game? And this is where the idea came from. So I started sketching, and I wanted to, make kind of a cardboardy paper craft atmosphere that is also scary. And I think that really that works.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So second question: what is or was the most difficult part in developing Paper Cut Mansion?
I guess if you're a small team, dealing with a lot of stuff altogether. So thinking in advance what can go wrong, and defining the style as well. I guess, since we're like just a few guys, it's very hard sometimes to squeeze every idea we have into the game. So sometimes we have to sacrifice something. I mean, for this game, we didn't sacrifice much. We had like plenty of ideas. But I guess the challenging part is just, as an indie developer in general, is like being able to do a lot of things, like being like doing the multitasking, right? That's probably the most challenging for any indie developer.
Yeah. And final question, what part of the game are you really proud of?
I'm really proud about the non-player characters, like the quests, like the way how they talk to you, the way how you interact with everyone. But also, I'm really proud of the bosses on the game. So there are like a couple of bosses, and because these are like the bosses is the part that I worked for longer. Like I could take more time focusing on the bosses, and I think they work great. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of that.
And can you already tell us how the bosses look like? What kind of bosses there are? Or
that would be a spoiler. That would be a spoiler. I wouldn't go that far.
What's the release date? Is there some?
Cannot really reveal that right now, but a few months more, and it's 2022 for sure.
Okay.
And we're releasing for all consoles, so it's gonna be on Switch, PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, XS, and PC, of course.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much, and good luck with the game.
Thank you.
Tmesis studio. The studio is very small and it's composed by us. I'm Zero, the author and the one who's making the graphic style and the story. And
I'm Federico, the developer of Universal Sale.
With us there is also Julien that is making the music, and so is the studio is all of us, only 3. And yes, the idea of making these video games comes some like 2 years ago. The main point was because I was trying to make a comics with this story, and then when I discussed with Federico about this idea, it comes the idea to make it like a video game, and we already do at the time we already do some experiment in the video game, but nothing very serious. We do some apps with the phone and stuff, but we want to make something more bigger. And then so we try in the COVID period to experiment with Universal Sale, and it goes well. It was very nice, the product that we go on. that we create. And yes, that is how it starts.
So, Universe for Sale, just to sum up, a sci-fi narrative game set on planet Jupiter, in which you follow a mysterious cultist. He meets up with a woman called Lana, who's a vendor, and she has the ability to create universes, or rather make them visible. And now for our Gamescom special episodes this year, we prepared 3 questions for you. I hope you're ready.
Yeah.
So question 1, well, I tried to outline the story a bit, but I feel like you really need to go into detail to understand this world you created. And in your game description, you also mentioned that the story is about human relationship and self-acceptance. So can you take us maybe deeper into the story, without spoilers, of course, and tell us...
It's not that easy.
Okay.
And
tell us if this game has some sort of message too.
When you see this game, maybe you expect a story like Star Wars or something, maybe action or stuff. So with human relationship, is something I want to point out that is all of these settings is only to make something to talk about, and meanwhile to talk about the feeling of the character and what they are their lives in this planet and how it goes their lives. And doing all this meeting, this chatting, these small talks, after a while you start to understand there is something more obviously deeper in the narrative, in the story of this game that you must discover and see what the final what do we want to put in the final of the game. Yes, so between human relationship is more like get in the mind of the characters and see what is inside.
And you can't go too deep, otherwise you will spoil the story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we don't want that. Second question, with what did you struggle the most during the development of Universe for Sale?
Okay, maybe we're just in tune, and being true, it's nice because we can work faster to speak with each other, and even with the engine I use, it's easy in true. It's easier in true. But well, there are a lot of parts in the development that are really repetitive. So there are some kind of development which are a little boring, but that's normal. It's part of the game.
And there is a lot of work.
In general, I'm sure there is a lot of work actually.
And it's increasing, every day is increasing. It's not good. Every time it's going.
Yeah, because every time you have an idea, no, we can put this, we can put this, and you put work on work.
It's a tree.
Okay.
It's a tree of work. You start a little, and then. And
At the beginning, we even try with voice acting. We want to put that in the prologue demo. But then at that time we didn't have a publisher behind, so we didn't know if we ever found a publisher in the future. So we put away this idea.
It was too much for us.
It was too much effort, too much money.
Even too much work, because it was a lot of stuff to consider. And
I think it's better that way, because you have this nice music in the background, and I didn't feel like the voice acting is necessary.
No, in fact, we try to do our best to make softer even without the voice acting. There is a little bubbling for every character that is different for every character. We try to do our best with the things that we have, essentially.
So, final question: with what part of the game are you really proud of?
That's hard. No, in general, how every time you open the game, how does it feel the general composition? Because our objective was to make something very coherent, 360 coherency, that everything is put to make like a living comic book. We feel that from that point of view, we center what we want to make. So now our objective is to continue to keep that quality for all the game, and it's hard.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I did the same, because right now the prologue is that you just see some shot and there is on Steam. Is the one that I like most, just because it's finished. It's complete with all the lights and all the stuff, and we know that quality is amazing, and we want to do that. But right now, for the publisher and for working for show, how we are working? We're working a different way. We are just doing backgrounds, just doing little dialogues, placeholder dialogues. So it's just the entire game in a draw mode.
It's like a storyboard. Right now there is all the game that is like a storyboard. So we are working something that is not beautiful.
It's not satisfying.
It's hard to keep the imagination here, but it will be like that. It's working. We know that we can do something nice. So it's always to keep the flow, keep the imagination be sure that it's working.
Yeah, cool. Is there a planned release date yet?
For the release, for now we have 2023 in general because we have a precise schedule, but there are a lot of stuff to consider. So we don't want to make a final date for now.
Yeah, sure.
A second half of 2023.
Yeah, something like that. We have the release of the announce with our cooperation with Olin that will come around September. But we have to see, and then we will hope that we will make some news every month to show how the game is working.
Okay, cool. And also during Gamescom, is there also the prologue? Can people play it on Steam or something?
Right now it's not completely on Steam because we are making some update and stuff, but it's not. If it's not now, it will be next week or something.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much, you guys, and good luck with the game. It looks awesome, and have fun at Gamescom.
Thank you.
Thank you for the interview.
Robert. I'm game designer at Naraven Studios, and we're about to release our first proper game, Backfirewall. We are a 4-team-member, female-led studio set in Switzerland, and we are not from game industry at all in the beginning. We come from films and neuroscience and communication, and then we really wanted to create immersive experiences with like a heavy narrative part. So we went into making games because why not? So we like challenges apparently. What else can I tell you about us?
You're working on Backfirewall.
Yes, we are finishing working on Backfirewall. It's actually almost done. It should come out this year, which is exciting.
Okay, cool. Just to sum up, Backfirewall is like this tragic comic first-person adventure in which you are the update assistant inside a smartphone. Your actual task is to make sure the newest operating system gets installed, but the old OS doesn't want to get deleted. So you try to help it and stop the update from happening. So for our Gamescom special episodes now this year, we ask 3 questions. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So question 1, while trying out Backfirewall, I had the feeling that I'm never quite sure what's coming next. So sometimes there are strange puzzles to solve, and sometimes you need to create bugs or hunt them down. And you can even talk to a rubber duck, which was very funny. And because of this crazy gameplay, Backfirewall reminded me a lot of the Stanley Parable, as it's also like this crazy game. So did that game somehow inspire you?
Yes. If Julia was on the mic right now, she would say that, of course, it was inspiring. And I think it's a game that really was important for us because it came out at a moment where we didn't really have that many original humoristic narrative games, and it was like, okay, this exists, this is something we can do, and we might have the skills to do something like that. So of course we didn't want to do another Stanley Parable. We wanted to do a game with a proper story, its own proper story, and it's just something that tainted the way we perceive video games, probably, the experience of Stanley Parable. And it was a type of humor that Julia, the narrative designer, felt comfortable with and really wanted to exploit. So we get that a lot, that there's some similarities. I think the end goal is different. It's sure, it's a bit meta and dark humor and sarcastic, but it's our experience. It has other also influences that come and mix it up a little bit. So yeah.
So question 2, what is or was the most difficult part in developing Backfirewall?
To choose only one. Okay, so I would say, if I can just sort of cut the answer in just a couple of main ones, we would have, like, the first thing is we all in the team, all of us, were learning how to make video games while we were making a video game. So it was difficult because we had like a limited amount of time to create something and we had to learn about how making it. So we went through different phases in production of different version of the game that could have been completely different, and we had to choose which one was the right direction. And we had to learn some tools that worked for us in terms of management, in terms of communication and working together, especially with artists and sound design teams, where we had to figure out a workflow that worked. And so that was a huge challenge, and we're still learning, and we're still trying to figure out what is the right workflow for us as a studio. We probably wasted lots of time trying stuff that didn't work at all, and maybe with experience we would have known that there was a bad path, but now we know a little bit more, so I guess that's that. But yeah, that was the main thing, I would say, to start with a project that big and that ambitious with zero experience. Now that we look back, we're like, oh, what did we think was going to happen? But we made it somehow, so yeah, I would say.
And a final question, with what part of the game are you really proud of?
I think I would say like the characters really turn out to are really working in the end. That was a big question mark the whole game. We were like, is it gonna work? Because it's sort of this magical thing that happened where it just works. You know, you can put all of the right ingredients, you have no guarantee that it works in the end. But I think for a character such as OS9, who has already so much love from the community and the people playing, it's like, okay, all of this hard work and all of these iteration, it was worth it because we have something that works in the end. And also I think all of the sound design and the atmosphere, sometimes it's also catching up. It's like, okay, there, it's working there. And yeah, it feels great to also have just finished a game. We went through A to Z and we did it, we finished it. So yeah, but yeah, we're really happy that we got to the end of this first adventure.
Okay, great. And release is planned this year or next year?
It's planned to be released this year. We don't have a release date quite yet, but it will be communicated. But yeah, it should be 2022. So fingers crossed.
And will there be a Steam demo now during Gamescom?
Yes, we have a Steam demo that is available until the 5th of September. So during the whole duration of Gamescom, everyone can play it from Steam.
Okay, very cool. Then good luck with your game, and thanks for the interview, and have fun at Gamescom.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. And all right, maybe see you again.
So my name is Dmitro Zhovtobrev, and I am the CEO of Snowhound Games. It's a pretty small indie studio based in central Finland. We've been around for, I guess, some 7 or rather 8. Yeah, soon gonna be 8 years, I guess. Okay. And currently we are working on our third project. So Potion Tycoon is our third game project. It's in many respects it's probably different from what we've done before, but yeah, probably let me finish first about the team. Like I said, we're a small studio, we're 7 men strong. Now at different times we were from maybe 5 to 8, and actually we started, it all started as a student project, and we've always had this ambition to create very original hardcore games for PC and console player audiences. And our first project was mobile, it just came out that way, but then we switched actually to live up to our dream, and our second game was actually that kind of game. It was released first on PC and then on consoles. It was a tactical RPG game called Deep Sky Derelicts. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's like similar to Darkest Dungeon game, but set in a sci-fi world and having a lot of this comic-esque vibes, like art style, and also a lot of elements which make it look like a comic book, pretty much. Yeah, and we actually kept that art style. We decided that it's one of our strengths. It's one of our pillars in what we're making, and Potion Tycoon actually also shares that specifically with our previous projects. So it has that same art style. We call it playful haunted. It's 2D, handmade, comic-esque, like I said, and like slowly getting to this Potion Tycoon theme. So it was a new turf for us. We decided to try another genre, and we have some fans of Tycoon games, management simulation games on the team, and this time they got their chance actually to speak up, to kind of give their word to the world. And actually so far it was an interesting journey, and we feel like we are cooking something interesting here. And yeah, partly it can be, you know, seen by the way people receive and react to this game. I mean, both like our publisher friends and people who just came to you know this game for the first time, like here at Gamescom. So yeah, we feel quite optimistic that this game can actually find its faithful audience. So we'll see it once the game is released on early access, which I hope is happening this year. But of course, we still have no set release date yet. But I'm pretty positive that it should happen this year.
Okay, cool.
What should I tell you about the game? So
exactly.
I actually told you a little bit earlier about it. So Potion Tycoon is a management simulation game. It's inspired by many titles, I believe. Some of those are pretty old Tycoon titles, which we have fans of on the team. Actually, I can't even like name them because probably those were played by other guys on my team, and they just told me they took inspiration from that. The games I personally know and I can tell that we inspired from them were Oxygen Not Included, maybe to some extent Fallout Shelter, what's it called? My Little Workshop, something else that just can't remember right now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's actually what our German publisher like about it. They call it in German Wusel Factor. So it's especially when you're like later into the game, you can see a lot of things happening at the same time, simultaneously, like all that kind of fuss and buzz going around the potion house you have and you control in the game. And it seems like it's to the liking of so many people. It kind of creates some incentive for them to gain control of all of this and make sense of all of it. I don't know. So it's something like that.
Your goal is in Potion Tycoon just to experiment with recipes, try out different potions, try to sell them and attract customers, right?
I think that all of those, they are integral parts of this experience. I think what we're trying to achieve here is that there is no maybe single part which, maybe except for that production setup, that you must do in the game. Like for example, the core loop more or less look like that you first design a recipe and then product based on that, and then you create a production setup which would be able to produce that specific potion. And then once it's ready, you just put it in a showcase, and then you observe customers come in and solve different problems related to production and to sales. And then you also look how to expand and advance and enhance all your departments of this potion house. So this is more or less it. For example, in the demo we have here at Gamescom, you cannot avoid that recipe creation phase that you necessarily have to go through it and create your recipe. But for example, we would like actually to have that a bit more optional, as a bit more optional feature in the final game. Right. So we'll have some automatic feature, which if you're not a fan of doing that alchemy experimentation, you would be just able to actually auto-create something which is done against specific criteria, like that level of product grade, for example, and that specific type of potion. And so we want to give some room to the players what they really want to focus on. Mm-hmm. So while I think, of course, this actual shop simulation is the really core part of the experience, and how you manage that shop of yours so it stays afloat and economically viable and like that.
well, Potion Tycoon at first is a management simulator, and as you said before, you made 2 different games with different genres. Ape Storm Full Bananas, an action mobile game, Deep Sky Derelict, a turn-based strategy game. So why do you change genres all the time?
Maybe because we just like it that way. I think there's no like very clear, definite answer to that. I think there's a few like factors which contributed to that. Maybe once we are doing something, we somehow get really used to it, and maybe we want like really change things and fresh things up for ourselves, and we change a little bit to a different genre. It also might depend on a specific person who might have their own reasons why they feel like it's the right move. But basically, I think I have a good reference example for you, like one studio, pretty well-known studio, which does the same thing and very successfully, Clay Entertainment. Now they have a lineup of pretty famous, like it's still an indie studio, but their games are very like famous. Mark of the Ninja, there's Oxygen not included, in fact. What else? So they actually have different genres. So they have this, stealth action, then like normal like platformer action game. And then they have what else? This Oxygen not included is also like a Tycoon game. I think there are more that I just don't remember right now. But the point is, they can do that successfully, and I think that they are enjoying what they're doing. But still, somehow, it's seen in their games. You can always say like, okay, this is probably Clay's game because they have their own artistic choices, which are carried across different titles, and you can pretty easily see that. So I think in this sense, we are similar to them. We try to be similar to them, and they serve as an inspiration to us as a studio in many respects. So yeah, that's my perspective on it. But maybe for some of our guys, like our creative director, whose idea Potion Tycoon is his idea, I think he has dreamed of making a game like this for quite some time. And it's just like this, concept ownership is an important thing, because we have a specific company structure where we have like 5 co-founders, and we kind of have equal rights, and we have our word is kind of counted. And with the previous project, it was another person's idea, and it got green-lighted, and we decided to go this fast. But this time around, we decided to switch gears a little and try something else, and everybody was positive about that. So maybe next time we do something completely different, maybe some action again. Why not? Or, I don't know, action RPG, whatever. What I'm sure about, it's probably gonna use similar artistic choices. Yeah. That's almost inevitable, maybe.
With what did you struggle the most during the development of Potion Tycoon?
That's a good question, because I can name maybe several things, but maybe the most obvious is the challenges coming from this specific genre. Those changes were new to us. I mean, if we kept doing the same tactical RPG stuff as we did in our previous project, maybe we wouldn't have those challenges. At least it would be like much easier to pick up. But it was difficult in that respect. Actually, the funny story is that we are a small team, like I said before, and with Deep Sky Derelicts, we had that sort of bottleneck. It was our graphic art department, because that game required so much content, and to really shine, we actually should have had more content than we would manage to add there. And we realized that with the current team setting, maybe it's not that feasible to continue along this line. And so I remember we were discussing it this way. Next project should be simpler, less content, maybe more gameplay focused, and so that gameplay would deliver on itself. And that was part of the answer, actually, why we chose this specific genre this time. But actually, it turned out to be more challenging on other from other perspectives. And now it's way more pressure and workload on the programmers, because we have 2 programmers, and it's very hard actually for them to keep up with the design department and implement everything on time. So that's the challenge actually, how to implement everything on time now, because the game is so heavy on mechanics, and unlike the previous game, which was heavy on content. So this is something new, and we need to learn it and go through this. So I think that's the biggest challenge right now.
One final question, just what part of the game are you really proud of?
That's a good one. Yeah, I guess the question that I'm proud of every part is not acceptable. Yeah. Well, maybe if there was somebody else from my team, it would be easier for them because they work on a specific part. Because as a producer, I work on kind of all parts. For me, maybe the most exciting is still the art direction of it, even though I'm not an artist myself. But somehow I really love this art style, and I love the fact that we managed to find and nail down this specific visuals we use in our games, and I like the way it's turned out in this specific game. It's a bit different from previous games, less dark and more, like I called it, playful. It looks funny at some moments, but yeah, I like that a lot.
And good luck with the game, and have fun at Gamescom.
You too. Yeah, enjoy your time.
Hi, I'm Roger, part of Strafen Studio, working on The Wandering Village. And Strafen Studios was founded, I guess, 2016, so we are 6 years old. It grows so fast. I joined the team when we were about to have the early access release of the first game. But I'm actually a career changer, so I do also concert visuals and just work at the LED walls for big techno parties, but it was like a skills meet opportunity situation where I was at the game dev meetup, and I tried to convince my sound designer to work at the game. They were just looking for a 3D artist, so I just jumped in, and I'm still here.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, you're currently working on The Wandering Village. It first seems like a classic city builder, but it really has something special. Can you maybe describe us the game for a few sentences?
Sure, right. It starts as a classic city building simulation game for maybe the first 20, 30, 35 minutes, but then suddenly you hear a big roar from afar, and you realize that you're just building your city on top of the back of a giant wandering creature called Ombu, which just stood up and starts to walk. The creature just got out of his, winter sleep, or woke up from a big long nap, because the ground is getting more toxic every day. So he's looking for another place. And now building the city on the top of a big creature brings some twist to the genre. Not only does it walk from one place to another, which brings different climate zones and hazards and opportunities, it's also just an animal. So that said, it may listen to you, it may, but just ignore you, as it is with a dog, or maybe something which is less domesticated, maybe a cow, right? So, yeah.
How did you come up with this idea of building a city on top of a creature?
These were the 2 co-founders who were at the game art exhibition, and they just saw this picture of, there is this trope of the city which is on the back of a big turtle. I don't know if you have seen. It's like, some people think it's super unique. I'd say it exists in Japanese mythology, and as far as I know, and I don't really know how to say it, but it's in Indo-Canadian mythology, there's also this story about a world on top of a turtle. You may also, people come actually with the reference from all kind of places, because the last Airbender Avatar uses it. Doctor Who has the space whale. What's more? that different kind of inspirations. But in the end, it was really just the co-founders of the studio going to the art exhibition and thinking like, hey, I would like to make a game like that. And the other one was like, yeah, sure. So we did it.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So what was or is the most difficult part in developing the Wandering Village?
If you see images of the game, you'll see it's also the art style is kind of unique because it's 2D billboards on top of a 3D model. So it's this what we call 2.5 D for lack of a better name. That was the thing we weren't sure about for a long time. Also here it was pretty simple why we did it. We are in the studio and we just like to listen to the employees. And Marcus, the animator, wanted really to do a game where he can finally use his skills to do hand-drawn animations frame by frame. We were like, okay, let's try it out. And we didn't like the result when it would all be flat in 2D. So that would look very linear, which is like go from left to right to the animal. So we just tried to mix it and we thought, okay, it looks like it's working. And the more, the longer, we just saw that it's something that's a unique selling point actually.
Yeah, definitely. And what part of the game are you really proud of?
What part of the game am I really proud of? Hey, I always think about the things that I would like to improve. No, I'm just now at Gamescom here. I'm just happy that it's super well received. A lot of people are liking it. I'm proud of, I don't know, just that it's looking like we're doing something that makes a lot of people happy and people are excited about it. So I'm proud of exciting people. Yeah.
Very cool. Planned release is September sometime, right?
Yes, this will be for the early access, mid-September. Later on, we'll bring it to the Xbox 2. And from then on, who knows what the future brings.
Okay, cool. Then good luck with the game. And yeah, have fun at Gamescom. And hopefully more people will enjoy this game.
Oh, thanks very much.
Thank you.
So I'm Nick Ladurio. I'm one of the game artists on Diluvian Wins and one of the founders of Alambik Studio who works on Diluvian Wins. And so we graduated in 2020 and that's when we started also to work on Diluvian Wins. So we have 5 buddies from school and so we were, some of us already worked with our publisher, Gabriel Studio, who actually gave us the idea for the pitch, and that's how we founded our team around the pitch of the game. And we made our own universe, our own world around it. So that's how it all started. And we've been working on it now for 2 years. And yeah, it's been going great so far, but we need more help on it. So, which is why we we got more friends on the project.
Yeah. So I'm Mathis Lenormand, and I'm working as a producer and a game designer on the game. So I've made the same course with the guys, but I decided to make one more year for the producing things in school. That's why I joined them 1 year later, basically. And after joining them, I tried to organize a bit the things because there were a lot of really creative guys. But since having only creative guys can lead to chaos, I need to make it a bit tinier. And since I'm here, I think we are going. The game is going really great. And basically, and we still we also added another person on the team. We have Eloise, which helps us as a game designer also, which is a little sister of one of our artists. And also right now we are working with Goldie, which is a friend of them also.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are trying to expand the team to meet the needs of the game, because it's a huge game with a lot of management things, content studio. But we are also trying to keep it warm and welcome, and so that everyone on the team can get along each other.
So for our Gamescom special episodes this year, we prepared a few questions for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
So question 1, you are currently developing this 2D management adventure game, Diluvian Wins. Could you maybe, in a few sentences, explain what it's all about?
Okay, so Diluvian Wins is a management roguelike game. You will embody a lighthouse keeper, and you will make a relationship with travelers that are going to help you, because you're a bit old, so you can't do much by yourself. Those travelers are flying some climate disruptions, such as harsh weather, huge tidal waves. and so you are going to make something like an hamlet in which everyone can be safe.
And question 2. So we already had you on our show last Gamescom. Back then, you outlined also the gameplay to us. You got to manage and gather resources, upgrade rooms, go on expeditions, and the lighthouse also plays an important part. So, what's so special about the lighthouse, and how do your actions influence the game?
Basically, the lighthouse is how the travelers are spotting your place. So you really need the fire to stay high, because if it downs, you will just won't be able to gather travelers, and the caravans that are roaming the world won't be able to see you. So you just won't be able to make anything. That's why you lose when the fire goes down. And you are not really supposed to fix things in Diluvian Winds. We are just trying to show that you can live in any situations and survive even if the climate is going wrong.
You can decide if you want to help the other people, or are you always helping them?
Basically, you are always helping each other because you need it in the game to survive. Because it's a harsh world with a lot of things going wrong, so you always need to help each other. And we did not want to have a wrong message. That's why in previous updates you were giving meals to everyone individually, and we turned it to a common meal to make it a bit more warm and welcoming.
3. What is or was the most difficult part in developing Diluvian Winds?
Well,
a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of things. I believe the hardest part was to organize ourselves, since we were students coming out of school. We were very happy to begin our own journey on video game making, but it was also hard to fix all the game design elements, all the structure of the game. Management games are also really complex to make, and you need to think about the rules very specifically and to be on point on everything, which we saw we're having a hard time doing. We have 2 artists and 3 developers, but no game designers. So, which is why we asked for help from our friends, and we somehow managed to come to this point right now.
Oh, great. And final question, what part of the game are you really proud of?
Yeah, I believe it's the game as a whole. So I speak as an artist, but I'm pretty happy about the whole mood that it gives off. We really wanted to make it cozy, homely, like you wanted to be attached to the characters, which is why I went for animals. You know, they're cute. You want to know a bit more about them. They all have those archetypes. So you'd be like, oh, the squirrel is cute, the bear, and so yeah. So it really gives up this this feeling of you really like to spend some time yourself in the rooms and be the one like doing the stuff there. So
you also look really nice and cozy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me something we are the most proud as a game designer was to make the game as accessible as possible, which was really hard because this is a really hardcore genre of game. But I think we are that's coming well, but we can still do better.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for showing us the game, and I can't wait to play it, and have fun at Gamescom.
Thank you for having us.
My name is Markus, and I founded Backwoods Entertainment with 2 friends 7 years ago now. It's a long time. And we're making story games. Our first game of the point-and-click adventure Unforeseen Incidents, which was released in 2018. And since then, we're working on new projects. Our current project is called We Stay Behind, and it is a third-person 3D mystery game, which is set in a small place, a small town that is threatened by a comet. A comet will hit, and the people don't want to leave. And you, as a writer, come to this town to find out why.
Okay. So for our Gamescom special episode, we prepared a few questions for you. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Awesome. First question. The game you released before was called Unforeseen Incidents, also a mystery adventure like your new game, We Stay Behind. What fascinates you about this genre?
Oh, we always wanted to make adventure games, even before we made them, and we weren't a studio. In our childhood, we always played those games, and this is why I always wanted to make one. And then we got the chance to make Unforeseen Incidents, and now this suddenly became our job. And this is just great to be able to make the games you always wanted to play, and to think of stories, to come up with ideas. And you have basically, when you start such a project, you have complete freedom in what you want to tell. And So telling stories is, I think, the thing we want to do in our games, and this is basically what's fascinating to us. And it's really cool that we get the chance to do that.
Yeah. So question 2, with what did you struggle the most during the development of We Stay Behind?
With the engine, I think. We started developing We Stay Behind with Unity now 4 years ago. And we made a prototype with Unity. We exhibited this at Gamescom 2019, and we realized that we could make a better game if we used Unreal. And this is just the case for this very game, because it always depends on the game what's the best engine, and also on the team, and a lot of factors come into that. But we realized for us it would be better to make this in Unreal. So we switched engines in the middle of production, which was a lot of work, and we had to learn Unreal Engine, which set us back at least 1 year. And so this was a lot of work, but I think in the end it paid out, because the game is much prettier now, it plays better, and this is the feedback we also get from others.
Yeah, the game looks beautiful, so that definitely was a good decision, I think. And final question, what part of the game are you really proud of?
We have still a lot of work in front of us. There's still a lot to do. What we have right now is the technical basis for everything. We have the engine, we have a story framework, and we are now finally able to implement the story itself. And I think it's a story. That's the core of the game, and it's the idea what's happening there. It's this mystery that's behind everything, and that you will get to explore when you play the game. I'm not sure if this will be the same answer when the game is finished. Probably because it's the core of the game, but I'm also excited about the look, and we will get to see a lot more scenes when the game is finished, and I'm really looking forward to that, which will hopefully be beginning of next year.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So thank you very much for these insights, and have fun at Gamescom, and good luck with the game.
Thanks a lot.
My name is Michał. I'm PR/marketing/event/whatever you need to do manager at a Polish studio called Mass Creation. But now here on Gamescom we are with our internal studio game. The internal studio name is Witty Games, and we are presenting a game called Hamster Playground. So we are advertising this as one of the cutest games in the whole Gamescom. So it's a game about hamsters. I work in the gaming industry for, I think it's already 6 years now. Before that, I work in Platishi Mash. So it's a Polish CGI powerhouse. They are doing trailers for games, special effects for films. They work with CD Projekt Red on Witcher 3. They work with Ubisoft, that kind of stuff. So I'm around the industry for a longer time, but after almost 3 years, I decided I want to work with game developers, so I moved to games directly.
Okay, cool. So for our Gamescom special episodes, we prepared a few questions for you.
Okay.
You're ready?
Yeah.
So first question, as you said, Hamster Playground is your current game, a casual game with cuteness overload, as you describe it on Steam. Could you maybe tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah. So we created a mix of Tamagotchi game, Sims, and a little bit of manager. Basically, you have a hamster house. When you've got your hamsters, you need to take care of them, so feed them, play with them, put them to sleep. Then you have to train them because they need to race. The racing element is racing in maze, or drag race on skateboards, or eating contest.
Okay.
So whoever eats most cookies. So those 3 modes are available in the game. Because the game is in early access, there will be more to come. So I can't say what at the moment. Sorry, but it's gonna be fun.
And more hamsters probably.
Yes, definitely.
Second question, you said game is already out on Steam Early Access, free to play. What player feedback did you get so far?
Okay, so the game's got very positive reception. So from one side, of course, there is some things that we need to work on, but that's what the early access for us is. we were ready. I think we were ready for more negativity. I think kind of things. We have some issues with online playing, but yesterday we released the first patch, and we hope it's gonna be like improve the game on this area. Of course, people want more clothes for hamsters and more stuff for home. And we already released, like, I think there's like 250 pieces of cosmetics available in the game now. But yeah, I mean, mostly these are things, the things are positive. So the people like the game, they're saying it's cute and that kind of stuff. But they also pointing out very cool things which we, as a developer, you know, when you're a developer, you spend with the game so much time. You very often don't see some small things which might be annoying or which might not make sense. And now when we have the players playing, so they pointing us, look, this thing needs to be changed. You need to change this icon because, and we are like reading, and it's like, genius. Why don't we saw that for 2 years, basically, when we were working in the game? But that kind of feedback is very helpful. So I'm gonna get back to the online multiplayer. It was like we created the whole UI for it, and for us it was super plain, super understandable for everyone, and super simple. It wasn't. So basically, in 2 days, the guys in Warsaw need to redesign, I think, 60% of the UI for the multiplayer to make it more understandable for players. Because for us, it was super easy. For people who get in touch with the game for the first or second time, don't. So yeah, that kind of things we need to work with. But basically, it's very, very cool, and everyone likes the game, and it's positive. So yeah, we are happy.
Great. Yeah, and also that's what early access is for.
Yes, exactly.
So third question: with what did you struggle the most during the development of Hamster Playground?
Yeah, that's a very, very tricky question. The question is, I think I would mostly say how to present certain things in the game, and the decisions, what to cut out and don't put it in the game, and what's supposed to stay. I mean, I would not go to the details because we can talk for like 2 hours probably about that. But basically, the thing is that we are doing a game about like living animals. So we knew that probably there are going to be people who will say you're doing this wrong, the design of the pet is wrong, that kind of stuff. So, but we decided to stick with what we come up to and defend it. Because we already got, like, there was a guy, I think on Twitter, that he wrote that we know nothing about designing hamsters and we should go to I think Japanese Twitter, because the Japanese people know how to design hamsters in games. I have no idea what he was talking about.
Me neither.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, that kind of stuff. I think this is the most difficult part when you're hearing very like bad feedback about things that you work on for a year. And then sometimes there is this temptation to, maybe this guy is right. So maybe we can start over from scratch. It's like put everything to trash and start again. No, I mean, this is our game. We made some decisions. Of course, we will have to handle the consequences later on, if there will be any. But the thing is that you need to defend your own game. I mean, I understand we're doing this for the players, and I understand that they need to enjoy it. But like for me, I know it's a little bit selfish, but in the end, it's our game. And we should know how to defend it as a developer and try to explain why certain decisions were made. I mean, if someone can, of course, there are areas when we can talk and have a dialogue, and maybe we can change our mind, like with the UI for the multiplayer. But I would say that there are things in every game that need to be defended by the developers, and this criticism very often is not right. Yeah, because they will say that your game is beep and that's it. No, like there's no arguments or whatever, and you can't argue with that. But you know, it's working on developers. When you're reading that kind of stuff in the internet, it's getting to you. So the thing very often struggling is like we don't always have a will to ignore things that we read about our game in the internet. I would say like that.
Yeah, sure. But also maybe look at it, if it's one person who's saying that, then try to ignore it. Of course it gets to you.
Yeah, but it's we very often it is one person, but like this, or it's a small percentage of people, but they are very vocal. So you know, there are always moments when it's getting to you, and you're starting to think maybe he's right, maybe we did this wrong, whatever. So you know, it's like when you hear only positives for a long time, you can understand. Then like you're very sensitive to whatever critic you will hear, even if it's like the critic is not good, not constructive. You will probably get smashed.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, it's your baby, it's your game.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
you know what
Yeah.
you're doing.
At least in the end, if we made bad decisions, we are not gonna sell the game.
Yeah.
That's it.
And final question, what part of the game are you really proud of?
The animation of the hamster. This is something that everyone who's in touch with the game, even when we were doing tests or we showed it to other developers on conferences or that kind of stuff, they said that animations are awesome. And we are very proud of that because it's work of one person. We have only, like, there's one animator who worked on that. There is no mock-up, no motion capture of the hamster, whatever. Everything is hand animation. And it's very, very good.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I like it's really a cuteness overload. I
Yes,
would say.
yes. I think the hamsters do like 90% of the job. When you see like a piece of video or a GIF or something, then you know that's cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Mikhail, thanks so much for the interview.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And good luck with the game.
Thank you.
Have fun at Gamescom.
Yeah, thank you, you too.
I'm Phil. I'm co-founder and game director at Awaceb. We're a small studio based in Bordeaux in the south of France, but originally we're from New Caledonia, so it's a small island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's a French island, but it's very remote, so it's very different from the actual French culture. Our first game was called Fossil Echo. It was a tiny 2D platformer that came out in 2016. But back then it was just two people, myself and my partner Thierry. And since then we've been working on Tchia, which is our new game I'm always happy to chat about. But yeah.
So for our Gamescom special episodes, we prepared a few questions for you.
Yeah.
You ready?
Of course, yeah, sure.
Tchia is this open world sandbox adventure we're currently working on. Could you describe us the game a little bit more?
Sure. So Tchia is a tropical open world adventure inspired by New Caledonia. So everything in the game is seen through the prism of our experience growing up in an island in the Pacific Ocean. So the game is designed as a toy box. We wanted to give every mechanic a toy-like feeling. So it kind of emulates the way you would feel when you were a kid and just throwing stuff around, hitting stuff with each other, just making sure that everything was physical, very analogic, and that everything reacts to everything else. So that's what the gameplay is all about. It's supposed to be fun and free-form and to allow players to make it their own and try to generate like systemic interactions between the stuff in the world. But it's also a very story-driven game. Because of that inspiration from New Caledonia, we also built a very human story that's rooted in New Caledonian culture and that portrays the different cultures that are on the island and the different kind of people that you can meet there. And it tells the story of childhood, growing up, friendship and family, and finding your place in the world and discovering what makes you special through the eyes of Tchia, who's a very special young girl. And it also has a lot of magical and fantastical elements that make it, like, I think, fresh and fun too. Yeah.
Second question, what is or was the most difficult part in developing this game?
The most difficult part, everything is difficult. It was a difficult game to make because we're a small team, we're 9 people, and it's a pretty ambitious game, so I think nothing was really easy. one thing that always comes to mind is Tchia's ability to climb anything in the game. So we have a free climbing system where you're not constrained by any surface in the game. You can climb pretty much in any direction, and it's very freeform and smooth. And that sounds like something that might be easy. Okay, you go up to a wall, you stick to it, and then you climb up. But actually, it creates a whole lot of locomotion problems and hard stuff to figure out. So it looks like a simple mechanic, but was actually one of the big challenges to program in the game. Yeah.
And final question, what are you mostly proud of in the game?
I'm proud that we're able to portray our homeland in a light that can get people from all around the world interested, because we really didn't want to fall into making something that was self-indulgent and just about us, and that would only resonate to local people from the island, that would feel very foreign for anyone else. So we built a team where the core of the team is from New Caledonia, but we brought in people from all over to make sure that we had different perspectives, to find that right balance between honoring the culture, but also making something that's universal, that anyone in the world can enjoy and understand and jump into and doesn't feel too, weird. So I think we struck a right balance, and that was a real challenge. So I said that's the thing I'm most proud of. And the second thing I'm most proud of is being able to poop as a bird when you're flying.
Yeah, that was awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on our podcast, and and have fun at Gamescom.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of Gamescom, and thanks for checking out Tchia.
We are D-Pad Studio. My name is Joe.
My name is Simon.
And we are today talking about Vikings on Trampolines, our next game. We've been spending a ton of time developing our major game called Owlboy, and this is our big project after successfully launching Owlboy back in 2016. And it was a huge, huge game where we spent 10 years developing the whole thing. And now we haven't spent 10 years on this, luckily, but it is actually in fact 20 years old. I designed it when I was 14 years old. I designed it for my little sister because we were playing a ton of games and I wanted her to be able to play a game that was competitive, but that she would learn really fast. So in this game you play as Vikings, and the only thing you need to worry about is jumping on trampolines.
And of course, me and Joe, we met quite some time ago. I believe it's about 15 years ago now. We met by chance at a developer meetup in Norway. Now, back then, none of us had any game experience. We had tried some small projects on our own, like Joe mentioned. He did make this game when he was 14. And I'd made some of my own projects, and I just started dabbling in pixel art, which was something that was self-learned. We didn't actually have computer school when I was going through art school. I actually snuck into the computer department to teach myself how to use Photoshop. So that was, we met by chance because I made a little prototype for Owlboy, and my programmer had just left the project to work for a different company. So me and Joe met up, and he was on his way to England I think he was trying to apply for a job at Lionhead.
Yes.
And then at random, he saw my game, we started talking, and then he just got on the plane back, and then we started working together.
Yes.
So the great thing there was, it's important to note, at this point there was no independent industry in Norway. We did have a couple of video game companies with some notoriety. You had Funcom, you had, Playfish up north, and you had some minor studios that were doing some okay things. But an indie career, that was not something that was really a thing.
No.
So when we met together and made a little extra version of Owlboy, we noticed a thing called IGF. This was the Independent Game Festival in San Francisco, and on a whim we sent a version of that out, and we didn't expect it to get nominated or win anything. And then we get the invitation that, oh yeah, no, you've been nominated for an award. I think it was the Visual Arts Award, which is just staggering to me considering that I don't have any professional training in this. So yeah, we went over there. I also met girl there for the first time, who I ended up marrying later, which was great. And so we showed off our game for the first time, and we didn't actually end up winning that award. We just kind of we were on screen, which was already incredible, along with all these industry professionals, but we didn't win anything. And then we went home. And then all of a sudden, oh look, Norwegian games can do things on their own. What a surprise. And as a result of that, sort of this industry started to blossom. The government started to give funding to video games through the Norwegian Film Fund. Indie studios started cropping up left and right. Turns out, if you showcase people, you can make something and people take note of it, then things start to happen.
Yeah.
So from there on, we founded D-Pad Studio, and we've been making games ever since.
Cool. So for our Gamescom special episodes this year, we prepared also 3 questions for you. You ready?
Right.
Okay, awesome. So first question, yeah, you're working currently on Vikings on Trampolines, a co-op adventure which you can play up to 4 players. There are different game modes in this co-op adventure. Can you maybe describe your favorite one for us?
Yes. So we have been adding bosses to the game. Big, huge, lumbering bosses. And they will put players to a great challenge. So you can play the game solo as well, but of course the game is better with more players. So once you meet a boss, you can cooperate to take down the bosses. You can use each other as trampolines as well. So anytime you meet a challenge in the adventure mode, you try to unlock new stages as well. And right now we are trying to fill it with as many mini games as possible. Even the map in the game has a mini game hidden in it. So we're trying to fill it with as many game modes as possible. But I think right now, challenging the bosses might be my favorite.
Yeah, I'm a little bit biased on that because, I mean, there are a lot of modes that I really enjoy. I love the versus mode because we've been playing it for like, what is it now, 20 years, I think? I really like the football mode that we added because it's so much fun. But I have a bias towards the boss rush mode. But it's mainly just because I get to animate these giant lumbering things, and it's something that I've wanted to do for ages. So yeah, as the art director, I kind of have to pick that one.
I see, okay. So second question, with what did you struggle the most during development of Vikings on Trampolines?
I think redefining what the game was supposed to be. Because early on, we had a very clear vision for what it was. We made a prototype where we sort of turned it into a versus brawler type of game, kind of like Smash Brothers. You have items and all that, and that works extremely well.
Okay.
The biggest challenge was COVID, because when you're sitting in one room, 4 people, you know, there's the issue with contamination, and people were on lockdown. And we weren't exactly sure how we were going to bring this game to people if they weren't allowed to play it.
True.
So trying to figure out a way to make this also into a single-player cooperative experience was very challenging, because when you're making a versus brawler, you focus on very different things, both on the art department and the mechanics, and bringing that over to something where you're not supposed to, you know, beat the crap out of each other, but instead help each other. That was difficult. But we did have an epiphany moment where we were just kind of playing around the mechanics, and we said, wait a minute, why don't we just also make the Vikings trampolines as well? And all of a sudden, the second we realized that you could jump off of each other and help each other out in that sense, the entire game changed, and all of a sudden things started to work out. So I think that was the biggest one.
Okay. Final question, what part of the game are you really proud of?
Well, the art has taken a pretty big step up. I could show you a screenshot from the old game, although it won't be shown in the podcast, so but you can find it online somewhere. The game used to look like total crap. And then I showed it to Simon, and he was like, okay, let me make this pretty. Not only did he do that, but he made all these different characters to the game. He made these balloon-type enemies, and he crafted the world around the game that I had, you know, designed when I was a little kid. And this game was supposed to be hidden from the world. I had forgotten about this game until that point. So I'm so happy that the game turned out to be this fantastical adventure that it eventually became.
Awesome. So, well, good luck with the game. It was definitely so much fun. We just played it for a few minutes with you guys. And yeah, have fun at Gamescom and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.